Brian, welcome. Yes, sir. Brian is a top franchisee up in the Northeast. Thanks for jumping on with us, Brian. Do you have time to share right
Sure.
now?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
Bring it on. Guys, I'm going to shoot forward. You'll see Brian on the screen. Brian, can you share with us what attracted you to ERA and what any advice you have for franchisees considering an ERA business?
Sure. So I was, hello everybody. I was one of the first folks to join the RA back in the early days, and I had a meeting with Fred Marfleet, our global chairman in San Diego, California, and I just believed in this business. I just believed this was a business model that I could always make money in. I didn't think it was a business model that was going to let me make millions and millions and retire early, but I could always make good money at it, and that's been the reality. And so, what I always tell folks who are considering this is, there's no guarantees that you're going to be successful. I think Red's right that if you hit all the numbers and really work hard, this business works. There's a reason we've been successful for 14, 15 years in the U.S. The guarantee I can offer you, though, is if you can build the kind of business that you want, and if you join in the Northeast, I'm here to help make that happen, and I take that very seriously. But if you can build the kind of business that you want, it's a phenomenal life, and the lifestyle is there in spades. So it's worked for me. It works for everybody on my team, and I think we've had a kind of a shakeout over the last few years, and we're really poised for some great growth, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's any questions, or Red, you want me to hit on something else?
Brian, you're great. Thank you for joining us. I know you've got to run. You've got a tight schedule today, and it was a last-minute request, so thank you so much. I know Brian won't be around at the end for our Q&A, but he's certainly available if some of you feel like you'd like to talk with him for a few minutes later on. Brian is a fantastic leader in this organization, and I know he'd be happy to share some more thoughts and answer some specific questions, or perhaps steer you towards the right person that can answer them better for you. Thank you, Brian. Appreciate it so much, and we're going to get to a couple other franchisees in a few minutes.
Thanks, Red.
So next, introducing you to another franchisee. We have Tim Hawes on the phone with us. Tim is one of my newest franchisees across North America. Tim has a very impressive background. You can see it on the screen there. Tim, will you share with the folks on the call today what attracted you to ERA, what you found since coming on board, and any other advice you might have for them?
I'd be happy to. I'm sorry I'm signed on a little bit late, Red. I slept in and I have a tea time here shortly, so I'm just kidding. Well, welcome everyone, and I hope you're enjoying this information session. I joined ERA 9 months ago after a 35-year corporate career, retiring in January of 2015, at which time I had absolutely no idea what I was going to do next. What I did know is that there was a number of things that were very important to me. I was looking for something very entrepreneurial. I was looking for something that allowed me to manage my own schedule, my own lifestyle. I was looking for something that allowed me to do a lot less traveling than I had been doing for the previous 10 years. I had spent an exhaustive amount of time traveling internationally, and that was just no longer something I wanted to be part of my lifestyle. I did a lot of very deep due diligence into a wide variety of different franchise opportunities. During that time, I concluded very definitively that what I did not want was a staff or an inventory or a storefront or a retail operation. What I did want was a strong franchise opportunity, because I like the idea of being independent, but at the same time having a strong support infrastructure and promotional partner. So why did I choose ERA? As Brian said, I like the product. I believe in it. It is needed in the marketplace. It is relatively unique. There are companies out there that can do a portion of what we do, but our depth of resources and ability to evaluate a company holistically is truly unique. This business met my lifestyle, my travel, my business criteria, and over the course of my due diligence with ERA, I could tell right away that it was a very talented professional team, both at the corporate level in Dallas and in the field with all the other franchise validation calls, and the common theme was very simple: talented, committed people. My experience to date, I have focused exclusively on client acquisition because that is an area of the business that I am comfortable with. It's compatible with my background. I am not and never will be a category specialist. I couldn't analyze my way out of a paper bag if I had to. But the good news is I don't have to, because our category specialists are so deep and so talented that they have that covered. I have been, I guess, relatively fortunate to have a little bit of success early on with ERA. I signed 2 clients with a total of 13 categories in my first 3 or 4 months with the organization. The support that I have received from the organization itself has been terrific. The training is thorough, but no one is going to hold your hand, as Red said, and be looking over your shoulder. Foundation training, which is the first kind of major chunk of training you'll receive, lasts about 2 weeks. They have recently moved that to the US from England, which is a fantastic thing. I was the last class to go through it in England, and having it in the US is much more relevant. It's much more tailored to the needs of the US market. It is much better in terms of helping you form relationships with your fellow franchisees and peers, and the food is a lot better. Key factor in terms of success is that this is your business, and your success or failure is ultimately going to be the direct result of what you put into it. Just a couple of words of wisdom from somebody who's been here for 9 months. Our project activation life cycle is relatively lengthy. It takes between 4 and 6 months from the time you sign a client until that client starts generating cash. It can easily be a year from the time you join the company before you actually see cash flow, if you take into consideration the training and getting your business up to speed, finding your first clients, and getting through that project life cycle. So you plan for that. You plan for the fact that the first year is going to be fairly slim, but then, as Red said, you have this building effect where the projects start to layer on top of each other, and essentially you have these mini 2-year annuities for 2 years for every project and with every client that you have. So proper planning, understanding what you're getting into, and go for it. It's a wonderful, wonderful organization, and I'm very pleased to be part of it.
Rudy Basilman is on the phone with us. Rudy is a longer-term franchisee with a outstanding background both in client acquisition and analytical field. Rudy, can you share, like the others, what attracted you to ERA, what you found since coming on, and any advice you might have for them?
Hi there, Red. And yeah, so I'm an engineer by education, and I had moved from engineering into consulting while I was in the corporate world, and I got set up with the consulting. And not consulting, actually, I got set up for the corporate life and decided I want to do something else. So I actually looked at a whole bunch of things. I looked at businesses to buy. I looked at businesses to start. I investigated franchises, and I landed on ERA because it seemed to have this one unique characteristic to it, which is that I didn't have to be the expert in everything I was doing. It allowed me to do consulting, which I love, but when it came to actually implementing projects, I could rely on other people who were category experts to get the work done. As you mentioned, my expertise, I actually do 2 parts of my business. One of them is client acquisition, and another one is analytics. And it's a mix for my business. I started off about probably 70% client acquisition, 30% analytics. It's actually shifted about the other way now, about 70% analytics and 30% client management. And it's something that I decided I preferred, and so I've been shifting the business over time. And over the last 10 years, I've done about 250 or 300 projects, and I love it. The category that I'm a specialist in is copiers, and I've done about 150 or 200 copier projects. And so I do quite a few of those, and it gives me a lot of expertise compared to my clients, because I see more in 1 year than they usually see in their entire lifetime in corporate America. So the thing I like about being a client acquirer and an analyst is that it gives me something to think about in many different dimensions. I get to think about how to deal with clients and how to present, and I get to be out of the office and in front of them. and other times I get to sit in my office and stare at numbers and think about things and write reports and work with other client acquirers and learn from them and help make their business successful. So for me, it's a really nice mix. I've been at it for 10 years, and I'm renewing again. So I'm going to keep doing this till I probably croak, and or if I win the lottery. So if I win the lottery, then I'm out of here too. Just so you know, Red. And,
Fair enough. As long as you cut me in on that, I'm with you.
All right, that sounds good. And
Rudy, thank you.
The things I like. Yep, sure.
And if you can hang on for a moment, there may be some questions. Some have already started coming in. So one question, is there a list of existing clients that is being shared across all franchisees to ensure we are not going to approach existing clients? Rudy, can you address that?
Yes, our client management system actually has a list of all the companies in the U.S. That are in our target market, and then they're allocated based upon prospects from the existing franchisees, the ones that they're interested in, or their existing clients. And so whenever we're interested in a client and we go to the KMS, we can see if it's available, taken, or if they're already a client. So that keeps us out of each other's way.
Excellent, thank you. Next on the call, as we've got a couple more questions coming in, we're joined by Jack Squires. Jack has the unique role of Executive Director across America, across the United States, and he supports franchisees similar to an AD in the company-focused areas where there's not an AD, and he's able to work with them one-on-one. So, Jack, if you've joined us, could you share any advice and some of your background within ERA?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Red. Yeah, I've been in ERA now for a decade. It's as all the folks have said, I originally came in as a franchisee, and what it really meant for me was I was able to strip away everything that I was really tired of in corporate America, the politics, the bureaucracy, the hidden agendas, folks trying to climb the corporate ladder, on and on. And what this really boiled down to for me was the most pure sense of business that I'd ever seen or I'd ever been able to participate in. Because the neat thing about being involved in ERA is all of those things that we're tired of in corporate America are gone, and everyone is just focused on maximizing the return for the client, because that's how we all get paid. So it just makes it, if you're a business junkie like I am, and you enjoy talking to organizations about what they're trying to achieve and how ERA may help them achieve those goals, it's a tremendously both exciting and satisfying career path. Just a couple of things that I want to point out real quickly that make kind of ERA so unique from anything I'd ever seen, and most of our franchisees that come in have ever seen. Is first of all, and Red's touched on a number of these, but the target market is gigantic. Virtually any organization of any size and shape in any industry vertical over about 15 million in annual revenue. So that's pretty tough to beat as far as the target market goes. The second, of course, is our unique value proposition. There are really only two possible outcomes for our clients. One, we either save them a significant amount of money and hopefully improve their process along the way, or we give them a validation that they're doing as well as they could possibly be doing in that particular spend category, and that's free of charge. And they're both tremendous wins for the client. So again, no opportunity for a negative ROI, which is so unique, and the C-suite does not get presented that option very often from folks coming in to talk to them. Third is our competitive landscape. We have the ability to work across such a broad variety of categories that it's very difficult for any firm anywhere to match us. We have two clients out on the West Coast right now. We are reviewing 24 different categories simultaneously for them. I'm not aware of a firm anywhere in the world that could come in and do that as well. And so we certainly have competition on one-on-one in categories. There's firms that look at telecom or insurance or freight or IT or what have you, but there's just nobody else out there that can sit in front of the C-suite, have one point of contact, and be able to cover at the breadth of categories that we have. And then finally, the opportunity. We just flat don't have enough great people in the field signing clients. And so for folks looking at this opportunity from a client acquisition standpoint, it's tremendous. In most organizations, when someone signs a new client, They kind of cross their fingers and hope and pray that the organization is going to be able to provide the deliverable that they've sold in the timeline that they've sold it. In ERA, it's the very rare occurrence of it's exactly the opposite. Our bandwidth for deliverable far exceeds our current demand for it. We just don't have enough great bodies in the field that are signing clients to leverage into our tremendous bandwidth we have for category specialists. So when you combine those four things together, it is a unique proposition for folks looking to start building something for themselves. So with that, Red, I'm going to jump off as I've got a call here at the top of the hour, but I wish everyone the best of luck in their diligence process.
Jack, thank you so much for joining us. I know you're very busy supporting new franchisees. Appreciate you, brother. Guys, I've got a question coming in for Tim. Hey, Tim, what's included in the 15% royalty fee? You know, what's included in the marketing fee? Let's look at royalty first. What do you get? And I'll pull up a screen, too, to give them another insight into what you get for your money. Tim, can you address that?
Sure. One of the things that attracted me to this organization was the fact that through the franchise fee, you're getting effectively a back office function that is run out of Dallas. You have really very limited requirements that are imposed upon you as the franchisee for doing payables and billables and invoicing. I mean, I'm not saying there isn't some requirements. There certainly is, but there is a sophisticated infrastructure in Dallas that handles a sizable portion of the administrative load for you, which allows you to very effectively operate as an independent business person without having to spend the majority of your time on administrative, back of the house matters. Obviously, you have to run your business, and there's certain elements that go along with that. But that's really one of the points of differentiation with ERA is that they give you tremendous back office services. On the marketing side, it's the promotion of the brand. It's a growing and increasingly sophisticated social marketing program to grow the ERA brand. It's development of the brand at outings and seminars and conferences, and you're working in a B2B business, and the reality is most people aren't going to have heard of ERA when you approach them about it. But what I'm finding is even over the course of the last year, as a result of the marketing activities that are taking place through the team in Dallas, that I am starting to get people to say, oh, I understand, I've heard of you, I know what you do, but help me understand it in greater detail. So I think that's kind of a long-winded answer, but I hope it answers the question.
Thank you very much, Tim. Next question is around, does one need to quit his existing job prior to joining ERA? So the answer is a bit of yes and no. ERA does need to be your primary focus. You can do other consulting outside of the ERA's world. You can have other income streams from outside of ERA's world. But as far as keeping a full-time job while you ramp up your ERA business, absolutely not. You'll never replace your income. Dabbling in ERA as a part-time effort, it is a full-time effort, absolutely. Now, if you've got a 90-day transition out clause or something where it's very defined and you want to come to foundation training during that fade-out period of your previous role, that's fine, but it's not, I'll keep my job till I replace my income. Not an option. Another question, how long to begin closing deals? Are savings calculated based on how the client incurs the cost, such as monthly and annual? I have a bad habit of trying to answer every question myself, but we've got some guys a lot better than myself on this call that are doing it day in, day out. So Rudy, so Tim, what do you think about how long to begin closing deals? Could you close a deal? Could you get a client engagement signed in week 1 of your business?
Rudy, I'll jump on that if you don't mind. There have been cases recently where people have signed CELs within the first several weeks or month of their being on board. In my particular case, it was about 60, maybe 75 days from the time I came on board to sign my first CEL. It really becomes a function of how quickly you can get up to speed on the nuance and the idiosyncrasies of the product and the degree to which you're able to make connections with decision makers.
I heard it described once by our SVP of Sales and Marketing, Gene Rosendale, who many of you may have seen some of Gene's intro videos. After our first conversation, I usually send 3 intro training videos to get you more insights on our client acquisition methodologies. Gene says he describes it in sales vernacular as a 2-call, 30-day close. It's a very simple sales process, no to low risk for the client. Very short, simple client engagement contract or letter. So the sales part at the beginning is not a complicated or intensive long tail to it. The integration, all the diving deep and the heavy lifting that the analysts do could be 2 or 3 weeks or 2 or 3 months, perhaps even a little longer if needed, depending on the category and the client. But that piece tends to be the biggest piece of the process from first conversation to money in your pocket. Good question, guys, and feel free to chime in anytime. So Ron asks, do you have a breakdown of the number of projects by spend category? I don't have that specifically nailed down, Ron, but what I did do early on in the process, like yourself, is I asked a similar question. I asked our Director of Operations, Nick Morrison. I said, Nick, sure, I see this screen with 44 different expense categories, but let's be real. My hunch is there are 3 that generate half your revenue. Correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. And he said, well, you're wrong, Red. Out of these, and you can see it now on the screen, the 44-ish expense categories that are common and significant, there are approximately 10 that make up half our revenue. So it's it's spread out nicely. To have 10 in the top 50%, that was really impressive to me. So there's not 1 or 2 or 3 categories that generate all the revenue and then everybody else starves, and not the case at all. When you look at this, look at it from what are common expenses? What do middle market companies all virtually spend money on? Well, you're going to start seeing some consistencies. They all spend money on office supplies, telecom, utilities, logistics is extremely popular. I'm sure Rudy would agree copiers are quite popular, and print. So where are the most popular expenses? And that's where you're going to find the most common categories. Any other insights on that, guys? Feel free to interrupt me.
Yeah, I read. It depends a lot on the kind of client that you have. If you have a white-collar business, you're going to have certain kinds of projects, things like office supplies and copiers and, insurance, health insurance, things like that. If it's a manufacturing company, you're going to have bigger spends in workers' comp and factory consumables and things that have to do with making things. And so it's going to depend a lot on the market and the kind of company.
Thank you, Rudy. And a related question might be, what are your most popular industries? Get asked that a lot. So I'll give you the top 3 as of late, and you're going to see how different each is from one another. Healthcare, one of the top industries we work in. Another, manufacturing. Another, nonprofits. I don't know if I could grab 3 that are more different from one another. Nonprofits, manufacturing, healthcare, all over the map, but they all spend a lot of money on a lot of things. And that's where we come in and help them. Between the value of the big influence we have on clients, along with the even bigger value of world-class expertise in every cost category, allows us to do with the procurement teams, as great as they are, as smart, as caring, as dedicated and loyal, they just don't have the decades of experience that our experts have, and they can't be expected to have that. They're spending 6 figures in 20 different categories sometimes. They can't be an expert in anything except a general procurement expert. And so we bring in that expertise that most of our clients could never afford or would not be wise to buy, to hire. We bring that in a contingency model, so it's a win-win for everybody. Don has a question. What is the system? Oh, Don, you got a loaded question. This is take an hour, so I don't know how to answer this. What is the system for validating savings during the 2 years of savings? I do get asked that a lot. Rudy, feel free to jump in, Tim, but in a nutshell, we have a very thorough methodology to create a baseline spend at the beginning and all the math behind that baseline, and that math carries forward into the future. And I'm amazed at how small gray areas, or how rarely the gray areas kick in. It's defined quite specifically at the beginning of the process how the math is going to be determined, and then it carries forward into the future. Rudy, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, some people think that it's based upon the total spend that a client has. So if they spend $100,000 this year and $50,000 next year, that's the savings. But we actually use unit costs for the calculation. So it really has to do with how many units of paper or how many units of print or how many bodies they have and things like that. So each category is a little different, but it's all based upon unit cost. And that way, if the business doubles in size, then everybody makes out. If they halve in size, like they did in 2008, then the savings are lower, but it's all based on units.
And I'll go one step further than that and say that it is a partnership between ERA and the client during the entire 2-year implementation period, where our category specialists are intimately involved based on the billing cycle of whatever is happening with that particular spend. If it's monthly, if it's quarterly, if it's semi-annually, whatever it is. From the time we deliver recommendations for how there's going to be savings, we are partners with that business on a category by category basis for the remaining 2 years of our life cycle with them.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks, Rudy. Now, back to the question about timeline. Here's a quick snapshot. Won't go into it too deep of client acquisition, client signed, project management, implementation, the whole process, and then getting paid. And yes, there's some upfront. I won't dive too deep here because in our operations support webinar, I go into it a lot deeper. In some of the payment from the clients is weighted up front. Gentlemen ask, is it just as it's incurred? And much of our income is as it's incurred, but there is some investment, regardless that it is a contingency model, but still right in here in the implementation process, the client is paying us some of that revenue up front as we've done quite a bit of work. So it's a nice balanced approach, and again, risk-free for the client. Don asked another question. Does ERA provide lead lists? Tim, what are your thoughts on that? And guys, if Rudy and Tim, if you could speak up just a little more, I want to make sure folks don't have to adjust their volume when I'm talking versus you.
No problem. The answer is, as part of our EMS system, there is a sophisticated infrastructure that is a combination of Hoovers and other data sources that provides information on all the businesses in your market area by size, by industry, by number of employees, et cetera, which is a very effective tool to help you define who your potential clients are in your own marketplace. But it's essentially up to you to use that tool to define which of those clients you want to go after and then to pursue them.
And two, to the point about the marketing fund, when potential clients or prospects go to our website and submit a request, then yes, there is potential for you to have clients come through that method. It's not going to be your primary source of revenue, your primary source of prospects or clients, but it should be a source, and it continues to grow as awareness builds. And CFOs will move from market to market. Maybe they've lost touch with their original client acquirer. So there are opportunities that continue to grow for local franchisees to receive opportunities through the marketing fund at corporate.
Red, let me just take that one step further. In my 9 months that I've been at ERA, I have received 3 referrals from existing ERA clients outside the United States who have subsidiaries in the United States who think that their U.S. partner may be interested in doing business with them. That's obviously a very warm lead, and I expect very good things to come out of all 3 of those.
Outstanding. Congrats on that, Tim. Hey, earlier we spoke on territories, so I addressed that one. Attrition and retention is also quite important. We talked about validation and how extremely positive our network is at validating. It's good to also note put things in perspective. Perspective is a key word in anything you look at. For instance, if you look at a Subway franchise, and a third of folks in the world that look at franchising probably look at a Subway franchise. Well, I'm told that the litigation section of their FDD, of their franchise disclosure document, is 1,400 pages, and yet folks are buying Subways all over. So again, put it in perspective. They have thousands and thousands of franchisees. Well, ERA, global, 25 years, 25, 30 countries, thousands of consultants over those decades. low investment, home-based service business, all that lends itself to you probably have a little bit of negative online, and that we're no different. Every franchisor has it. Some websites exist to extort money from franchisors. I don't play their game, and I don't give into that, and I don't pay them the money they request of me often to take down any negative, because we're very proud of our culture and we're very proud of our attrition. Now, 4.5, 5 years ago, we had a bigger than normal attrition, and it was planned. And I'm happy to talk to you more about that. But outside of that, we've gone 15 years in the U.S. We've gone 3 years in the U.S. You look at the average on 15 and on 3, it is a very low attrition number compared to the industry. The industry is over 10% annual average attrition in franchising in the U.S. anyway. I don't have Mexico or Canada numbers, but in the U.S. it's just over 10% average annual attrition. Our numbers are less than 10 in 15 years and in 3 years. And boy, if you look at the low investment home-based service franchise business, the attrition numbers are double that. And yet again, we are less than the average across 15 and 3. So very proud of our attrition numbers. Since I've been on board almost 2 years now, I've not seen anyone leave other than for retirement. And we do have some retirees, folks that are playing out their business and exiting gracefully. And so I'm here to help franchisees do that, whether they're selling their business, finding buyers, and then the team is helping you establish an exit strategy. We work with you on that to retain you and then ultimately help you exit at the appropriate time. What other questions do we have? Anything else? So from a website standpoint, you've probably been to findextraprofit.com, or you can get there through expensereduction.com. The website also gives you, we're in social media. Our LinkedIn page is you can find it, Expense Reduction Analyst, and then I've got a page within that. Twitter, we're on Twitter aggressively, but love to keep up with you and connect with you on LinkedIn. Lots of great videos. You can see the video link at the bottom of this screen. If you haven't seen all these, they're each at a different aspect of the business. Hopefully you'll get something from each one. These are much shorter videos than the webinar we're doing today. If we haven't spoken yet, obviously let's get a phone call or a Skype call going quickly, and then I'll get you moving. Speaking to your coach and mentor, speaking to other franchisees, meeting the corporate team, and really getting a clarity if this is the right fit for you. Here's some quick upcoming events. We've got the webinar today, in fact, and then we've got, I'll be in New York City here in a couple weeks, and lots going on. New franchisee training coming up in less than a month now, and we've got another one in August. So every couple months, new franchisees coming in and getting launched. Any other questions? One last call on questions. Can we hire consultants to work for us as a franchise owner? Can we hire consultants to work for us as a franchise owner? Guys, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, this is Rudy, and I've done that. I've put people on my license as seat holders, and they were actually able to contribute to my business in ERA. And as long as they were trained and knew, the standards we had and followed our code of ethics and our behaviors and standards, and yeah, it works out great.
So there's a different ways to interpret that too, as Rudy did. You have in the U.S. and in all of the Americas, we have a clause that allows you to add up to 2 seat holders. These are client-facing individuals that are trained and approved by ERA Corporate to represent the brand to the marketplace. They're your employees or perhaps partners in the business, and they can do everything that a franchisee can do. So if you're interested in scaling it and growing it, yes, absolutely, you can do it through that way. If you're looking to engage outside consultants to serve ERA clients, first you'll go inside the business. There should be someone in every significant cost category that can support you. But if you feel like there's not, you feel like there's a rare opportunity where maybe an outside source might be a better benefit for the client, then speak with the ERA Corporate. Your area developer and ERA Corporate can help you determine if that's the case and we can't satisfy the needs of the client, then we can use outside sources for that. It's pretty rare, though.
By the way, Red,
go ahead.
It's worth pointing out that you can use referral sources, and they don't have to be part of ERA, and they can refer people to you, and that can help grow your business as well.
Very good point. Good point. I mentioned earlier over half our business comes from referrals. Well, that includes referral partners. That's a big part of most of our client acquirer franchisee business, franchisees' business plan is who could be strong referral sources. Who do I know in the community that are dealing with CFOs that could refer us business and vice versa. So being that trusted advisor and that influencer in the community can be a significant part of your business plan for growth. It's not a required plan, but it could be part of it. How is client location determined by headquarter location or site? Yeah, James, good question. How is client location determined? Well, it's where the decision makers reside. So if it's a decision maker in this territory, and if they're located there, then that's where we assign it equally and fairly to a client acquirer in that market. More questions coming in. All right, what if I have a client interested, but their head office is out of my territory? Like it. Good question. So you then, if it's out of your marketing territory and it's a referral, or perhaps you already knew them, then you just let the folks know that are responsible for that territory. It might be corporate, it might be an area developer. But you let them know, I've got an in with this client. Nobody's name is on them, because you can see that in our intranet. You can see if the name is on the client or not. Very, very unlikely, maybe 1% chance that someone's name is on them. And so you just inform the individual that's responsible for that market about your opportunity within their market. Pretty simple. If someone's name's on it, you talk to that franchisee and determine, would they give it up and let you move into it? Do you want a tag team? Or perhaps they're really far down the process and you missed out on an opportunity. So it's a very high EQ, no drama kind of culture, so we work with each other very well in that. And from what I've seen, a very unselfish manner for the most part.
That's one of the nice things about ERA compared to corporate. The amount of politics is basically non-existent.
Yeah, thank you, Rudy. Yes, Ron, thank you for asking about the copy of this presentation. Boy, you guys have you're patient. This is the most we've had on any presentation in the last 2 years. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much, Tim and Rudy, for joining us. Looking forward to speaking with you. If we haven't spoken in the past, I'm here for you any way I can. I'm your tour guide through the ERA discovery process. Have a blessed week.